Welcome to Black and Gold Digital Edition, a behind-the-scenes look at your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another digital segment. Mike Fenner, Jay Puskar, Kent Urbanski, and guys, here we are, the Pittsburgh Steelers, back in the playoff conversation. They're 4-4 overall, and it's hard to believe that after an 0-3 start, we're even talking about the Steelers possibly climbing over the 500 mark. You and I were at the game against the Colts. What a back-and-forth battle that was. And yet here we are, the Steelers finding a way to win those games.
Right, yeah. That's the first time I think in my career covering the Steelers that I've ever heard Mike Tomlin at a press conference say, we're 4-4. We're happy to be 4. We're happy to get here. That is a little strange. But they needed to get the win. Doesn't matter how they got it. Just getting it was what's important. And of all the bad breaks and bad luck that the Steelers have had over the years, I think the football gods were with them on this.
And
one.
a lot of players were even saying that too. Cam Hayward saying after the game, hey, the football gods finally looked down on us and we caught a break as Adam Vinatieri shanks that 43-yard field goal attempt that possibly could have won the game for them. But Mike, on paper, you take a look at this matchup because the Colts came into that game in first place. You're pretty much locking up a loss for the Steelers, but yet here they are getting a much-needed W.
And I don't want to, use a humble brag right now, but what did I say was going to be the key last week? Special teams. Chris Boswell makes the field goal.
Nostradamus over
and
here.
you even mentioned that Vinatieri was not kicking well.
Exactly.
Said, boy, it came
Boswell
down to
makes
that.
the field goal. Vinatieri misses the field goal. It's a 2-point game. That was the biggest difference, and you got to feel good about that if you're Pittsburgh.
How critical is it now to have that winning momentum too? Having a 3-game winning streak, that's got to really elevate their confidence going into this matchup against the Rams.
Absolutely. Plus, you look at a Rams team that's fighting for their lives in their division, the NFC West. I don't think they were expecting to see an undefeated San Francisco team in their division and looking up at Seattle after winning the NFC last year. So it's going to be a dogfight. Both these teams really need this win in terms of both the wild card picture and both the NFC West and AFC North division pictures as well.
Kent, you got a tale of two sides going on. The Rams are coming off a bye. The Steelers are riding a 3-game winning streak. This should be a pretty good matchup, especially knowing that there's going to be a great superstar on that defensive line and Aaron Donald coming to town.
Yeah, and they need to find some way to contain him, even just a little bit. So the game plan, I think, is you're going to have to bring in some extra linemen just to take care of him. And if you can do that, if you can contain him a little bit and keep him from taking over the game, I think they have a good shot at winning them on a home field, crowd on their side, and use that offensive line to their advantage, and hopefully they can contain them even just a little bit.
From a scheme standpoint, too, do you think some of the running backs might have to help out with those blocking scenarios just in case he does find a way to penetrate that line?
Yeah, that's going to be a big factor, but as much as Aaron Donald's going to be a problem, I think Jalen Ramsey's just as big a problem on the back end. I think it's going to be hard for some of these receivers to get open, and we know that that's been kind of an issue lately for Juju Smith-Schuster, whether it's not been him getting open or just Rudolph not delivering the ball to him, because even though the tone has been good lately for the team collectively with the 3 straight wins, he's been a little displeased, I guess, with the lack of balls coming his way and the lack of production at that receiver spot. So that's going to be a big challenge as well, trying to get open and work against a guy like Ramsey. They've got some bad dudes on this defense. Eric Weddle, Michael Brockers.
That's true, but here's the thing. On the other side, they brought a guy off the practice squad, or they just signed him.
That's true.
So there's going to be a weakness there. You never really hear about trying to take a defensive guy out of the game, but let's take Jalen Ramsey out of the game. Let's throw, maybe throw some balls his way just to get him out of the game, which is going to loosen up balls for other guys on the other side of the field, which I feel is their weak spot. So
Sure.
Mike, you hinted on this a little bit too, just the receiving core. I mean, they're really not putting up big numbers, and a lot of it does start with Mason Rudolph trying to throw it downfield, but when your leading receiver last week was a tailback, and then your leading rusher was coming out of the backfield too, you got to get some of those weapons going as well, and you got to see Washington and Juju Smith-Schuster to really step up, and how critical is that going to be for them to at least start to exploit some of that secondary?
I think James Washington's got to be key in this game. I think he had a really good game last game. I'd like to see more out of him in the middle of the field this year, or this week. And the tight ends have to come around. That's why you got Vance McDonald in there. Let's use these guys.
And you trade for Nick Van Nett from Seattle as well. I mean, but it's kind of a byproduct of what they've been trying to do with Mason Rudolph is protect the football. So they haven't taken, admittedly, a ton of deep shots down the field like they would with Ben. But still, that's kind of a byproduct of what they have right now. But you're right, they do have to get these receivers more involved somehow.
Guys, on a side note, we talked about this with some of the Steeler fans down in Pittsburgh about this, and excluding the Super Bowl season where they won the championship, is this Mike Tomlin's best season as a head coach and his staff being able to just keep the ship together and not let it fall apart after an 0-3 start and get themselves back to the 500 mark and then still have an optimistic outlook on this last 2 months of the season?
To this point, yeah, I would have to say so because he hasn't had Ben. You know,
Yeah.
that's been the key. I mean, he's had Ben and all the other
Or AB, or
right.
at least Bell to
Right.
go to kind of have that
Yeah.
workload?
And with the injuries that he's had, you know, yeah, I think it has. You have to look at that. But you know, if he wins this game and then we're going to Cleveland over 500, then yeah, you really have to say that, I think.
Mike, what
I'd
do you
say
think?
yes for now, but I think these next 4 weeks specifically
Yeah.
are going to define that because with this game against the Rams, it's big. You have 3 straight division games, 2 with Cleveland, 1 with Cincinnati. You take care of business in those division games, and you're talking about a pretty successful season no matter what. So I would say this next 4-week stretch is going to definitely
good
determine
point.
that.
And on paper, going out to Arizona, that could be a winnable game too. So all of a sudden, they could be looking at 8-9 wins with still a couple more games at hand, knowing
Yeah.
that Baltimore's still on the horizon.
Not looking too far ahead to Arizona, but those guys are starting to come around a little bit. They gave San Francisco all they could handle,
Yeah.
you know. So
That's true.
That's not a game I'm really looking forward to, you know, to tell you the truth, to go on the road because the Steelers don't generally play well on the road.
Well, and even Kyler Murray playing as well as
Right.
he is as a rookie, you know, a lot of these
Right.
defenses that we've seen with New England and San Francisco and Pittsburgh, these mobile quarterbacks that are now doing it in a different manner, they're
Right.
playing smarter with running the football and then getting rid of it. Kyler Murray might be a possible problem for them
Yeah,
down the stretch,
yeah.
but that's still about 4 weeks away.
Yeah, let's get
The biggest
yeah.
concern right now is facing the Rams. And guys, what is going to be the big key for Pittsburgh come Sunday afternoon?
I think they got to cover these receivers well because Todd Gurley's been really quiet so far this season. He's really not been the same guy, and they haven't asked him to do the same things that they did in their Super Bowl run. So I think stopping Cooper Kupp, you know, you're not going to have to deal with Brandon Cooks, fortunately for Pittsburgh, but these receivers are still tough. Gerald Everett's been a guy that's really come up as a tight end in the weaponry, and if you can kind of limit what they can do through the air, I think that's going to be big because I have a hard time believing Todd Gurley is going to return to that kind of form this week after what we've seen all season long. He really hasn't had that breakout game.
No, he hasn't.
Limit those splash plays, you know. So, you know, the Patriots held Jared Goff to, 3 points in the last Super Bowl with pressure. I think the Steelers can do the same thing. And, you know, like I said, limit those splash plays. I think Gurley might get a few of his runs, but if you keep him under 100 yards and keep everything in front of you, I'm looking for Fitzpatrick to have another interception in this game versus Jared Goff.
Yeah, he's been great defensively in that back end. It's really paid dividends.
Sure.
Trading for that first-round pick to have him, he's paid off big time as he's cashed in that secondary. All right, guys, thank you so much for everybody here at Black and Gold today. Enjoy the game this weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for Black and Gold Digital Edition.